what would have happened. So what would have happened, say, I'm thinking of two different things, and I kind of was cheering for some of these things when I read the book. One of them is if you just said, you know what, I do want to have this baby, I'm leaving this organization. Would that have changed your life? Would that have even been physically possible to do at that point, do you think?
Well, I think already my mindset was so invested. See, this community gathered around us in the time that I was with him. I mean, that first, I talk about that class when all the hippies commune from New Mexico showed up. Well, that was, like just within 2 weeks of my first meeting him, and or 3 weeks or something. And so they were just finding him. He had classes going around town, but he didn't have a big following yet. And so that was like the initiating experience. And that particular group of people invited him, the Juke Savages, they were called, that commune, to 1969 June summer solstice in a meadow in New Mexico. This was a gathering that they held. And it's from there that summer solstice tradition began. It was like 8 or 9 months after I'd met him. Mm-hmm. And we go to this summer solstice event held by this group. We heard the Sunshine Song, the longtime Sunshine Song. They were singing that, this hippie group. He initiated all of these hippies to get married to each other. Otherwise, they'd just been living in their buses and their vans and their, set up teepees around this meadow and had yoga classes in the middle of this meadow that he taught. And so a lot of stuff he drew out of that very first event. And from there, we went on to hold our own.
So did many of those people, Pamela, become part of sort of the old guard?
Yeah. Tom Law went and taught Kundalini Yoga on a stage at Woodstock.
Was Lisa Law was that his wife, Lisa Law?
Yes.
Okay.
And they were married in that first solstice by him and at his direction. They already had their first daughter, and she was pregnant with another child. So he talked everybody into taking their vows and getting married and making it all legit. And he spontaneously created a wedding ceremony with, circumambulating around. We didn't have a scripture to circumambulate around, but something, I forget what. But the women followed the men with a shawl draped across the shoulder. And I'll have to include that in the next book, I guess.
So do these arranged marriages that became part of the 3HO tradition, really, that he would be the one to arrange virtually all of them?
Well, I mean, it got to the point where you had to be careful if you came to solstice that you didn't get married off without having a plan. So I'm sure some people came with their intended, person to get married to, and he may or may not approve that. He might interfere. I don't think in those early years, I don't think he did that much interference, but he did just throw people together and have them get married.
So from a
pull that one over.
Why did people agree to that?
We were just we were being educated to a tradition of relationship to a spiritual teacher. It hadn't ever happened before in the United States. You know what I mean? It was like we were young, we were idealistic, we were seeking, and everybody, had their previous experiences with LSD or marijuana or whatever, and and he spoke when he spoke to us in from the stage, in classes, wherever. He always drew up this picture of the vision of us being the leaders of the Aquarian age, and that he was here to make us those kind of teachers and those kind of leaders. So there was just I was just a learning curve for everyone.
Right.
And we thought, well, if the master put us together, it'll be perfect. And it was sort of a learning about, see, the Indian culture never still, well, it's changed a lot, but in those days, and certainly prior to those days, they didn't really honor romantic love. It was not a part of the Indian cultural tradition. They all did arranged marriages, right? I mean, they were arranged then by family. I mean, at least you had to know each other's family, and you had, there was a basis for arranging a marriage. But here, he could just pick people out of the crowd and put them together. And, we thought it was cute. We thought it was funny. We thought it was crazy, whatever. It's like we went along with it.